He was just a young student when he stumbled upon a forgotten journal, hidden deep inside the library walls pages, filled with forbidden love, secret nights, and a promise that ended with silence. Each word set his blood on fire, and he swore he would live such a love himself, no matter the cost. When he discovered the author was not a ghost but a respected professor still walking the same halls, fantasy became flesh. They shared coffee, stolen glances, nights wrapped in warmth. But with every line he read, jealousy grew like poison. Soon passion twisted into obsession, and obsession into betrayal. Hidden notes, sabotaged lectures, and an anonymous storm of secrets began to tear their fragile bond apart. One wanted to preserve the past, the other wanted to rewrite it, and both knew the truth would shatter them. When love turns into a dangerous game of control and revelation, who survives the final page? I was shelving returns at the campus library when the ceiling coughed and a sprinkler spat once, then died. A wet bloom spread across the carpet. Everyone kept moving. I didn't. I held a battered literature anthology stamped 1989, its spine gaping like a mouth. The book fell open to a hollow cut into the pages. Inside lay a palm-sized journal in cracked brown leather, tied with a shoelace. No library tag, only a strip of yellowed tape with a year in fountain pen. 1987. You good? The student at the desk asked without looking up. Yeah, I said, untying the lace with wet fingers. The first page smelled like dust and cedar. Small, precise handwriting poured a life I didn't know I was starving for. He wrote in dates and fragments, as if language had to sneak past a locked door. October 2, 1987. We walked past the common, and he slipped his hand into my coat pocket like contraband. I felt the heat of him through wool. October 10. By day he called me professor. By night he learned the geography of my ribs. We drew the blinds. We talked about books until the words turned into breath. I read behind the stacks like a teenager hiding a magazine. The library kept making library noises, a copier stuttering, a chair scraping. The world I belonged to narrowed to the width of those lines. October 19. He told me I was a poem he didn't deserve. I told him the whole department could set me on fire, and I'd still walk into his kitchen. We drank coffee and let it go cold. His head fit beneath my chin, exactly. I recognized landmarks, Commonwealth Avenue, a bakery on Beacon Hill that still sold cinnamon knots, but in the journal they were lantern, bright. The man who wrote this lived in the Boston I wanted, intelligent, hushed, brave. Hey, a librarian said softly. Special collections is closed. You can't be back here. I'll put it back, I lied. My thumb pressed the leather shut. I slid the journal under my hoodie, felt its square truth against my ribs, and walked into the stairwell where the air smelled like wet plaster. I didn't go to class. I went to the coffee shop on the corner and ordered something I couldn't afford, and I read everything. I read until the light outside thinned and the barista flipped chairs upside down. October 27. He says every choice is a door. The closet is the place you leave once it's a hallway with many doors, and some lock behind you. Tonight he fell asleep on my shoulder. I counted 5 doors I know I'll have to open. November 1, we fought. He called me by my first name at work. We didn't touch for 6 days. November 7, his breath touched my neck while the kettle screamed. It quieted us both. I told him I'd stop pretending fear was prudence. The last entry came like a step off a curb I didn't see. November 12, tomorrow I tell the chair I choose him, then a coffee ring, a smear, and nothing. The page after that was torn out in a hurry. No finale. The ink's last sentence ended like a hand letting go. Something in me split along that ripped edge. I didn't know these men, and yet my chest ached as if they were late for me. I wanted to be the hand in the pocket, the shoulder under the sleeping weight, the person chosen in daylight. I'd been careful all my life, good grades, neutral colors, dates that felt like interviews. And now the journal put a different life in my lap. I read the dates again, 1987, the year my mother was 19. I tried to imagine that courage, walking into an office and saying I choose him. The room spun a little, even sitting down. We're closing, the barista said. In the window, my reflection looked ghosted by streetlights. I slid the journal under my sweatshirt. No one saw me, or if they did, they pretended not to. Back at my apartment, my roommate asked, "You're late. Date, library?" I said, my voice like an alibi I hadn't rehearsed. I lay on my bed and set the journal on my chest. The ceiling had a crack shaped like a river. I read a third time, on the inside cover, faint pencil, 2 initials I'd missed before E. In the margin of October 19, a small coffee stain looked like a thumbprint. I did the smallest wrong thing. I wrote my name next to that thumbprint tiny, as if the page might forgive me. I wanted the book to know me back. Sleep didn't come. The radiator clicked in Morse code. Somewhere upstairs someone played an old record too low to recognize. I lay there cataloging questions. Did he tell the chair? Did the doors lock behind him? Did they make it past November? Was the other man still alive? Was he tired of courage by now? At 3 a.m., my phone lit up with a university notification. Faculty Colloquium Series, Memory and the City. Whitcomb Hall, 4th floor. The headshot was grayscale. A man in his late 40s, maybe 50, with patient eyes and a mouth that looked like it had learned to hold back. Name Dur Elliot Harrington. The letters stood up in my chest. The journal warmed under my hand, as if it had been waiting for me to see it. I didn't decide, the decision made me. Tomorrow I would go to Whitcomb Hall. Tomorrow I would ask for an ending to a story that had stopped mid-sentence. Tomorrow I would step through a door that might lock behind me. And if the journal had taught me anything, it was this: some doors should. Morning came quiet. Whitcomb Hall waited like a throat about to clear. Under my jacket, the journal lay against my ribs flat, sure, illicit. A notice blinked from the library: water incident in periodicals. If you handled materials after 3 p.m., check for damage. No word about a missing anthology with a hole inside it. Consequences often arrived polite. I took a seat in the back of the colloquium. Dur Elliot Harrington's photo had been generous in person. The gray at his temples carried its own authority. He stepped to the lectern like someone who knew which floorboards creaked. Memory, he said, is a city that keeps renovating itself in the dark. His hands opened and closed as if testing hinges. We wake and discover a hallway that wasn't there. Pens scratched around me. I let the words land. He spoke about public archives and private ones, about letters that outlived their writers, about the ethics of forgetting. When he said some doors are better left unlabeled, something under my ribs answered yes. During questions, my hand rose before my thought did. How do you live with a memory that refuses an ending? I asked. He looked at me like a stubborn file he both respected and dreaded. You don't, he said. You give it shape without pretending it's finished. You let it sit at your table without carving its name into your furniture. A thin smile. Or you carve and regret the gouge. People laughed. I couldn't. A square of leather pressed heat into my sternum. Afterward, he stood near the front, absorbing thanks. When the circle thinned, I stepped in. Thank you, I said. Thank you for the question. Up close, his eyes were the color of late afternoon, the minute before streetlights surrender. Elliot Noah. I kept my hands in my pockets, hoarding warmth. Are you in history? Lit, I said. I work in the library. That tracks, he said. Libraries teach you what people try to hide. Do you ever miss what you didn't write down? Every day. He tipped his head. Coffee. We took a small table by the window. He ordered tea. I ordered anything. Outside, jackets moved through cold air sharpened by semester and deadlines. Inside, the table made its own weather. Your door metaphor, I said. I use it too much. It felt true. Truth tolerates repetition better than lies, he said, a little smile. We talked Boston old bakeries, stubborn bookstores, the way fall drew hard edges around things. He didn't mention 1987. I didn't either. Between us, a quiet, alert permission. His ring finger was bare. A pale line circled it like a whisper. I looked away. Do you teach undergrads? I asked. Most days. I also run a seminar on archives Tuesdays. I want to sit in. It's not allowed, he said gently. Which is why you probably should. He wrote an email on the corner of the program. The handwriting wastes the same as the Journalslarger, looser. Lives drift. Send me a note, he said. Tell me which hallway you're trying to open. I will. We left together. In the elevator, shoulders brushed, breath mingled. At the doors, he reached past me to push one open. His sleeve grazed my wrist. It was nothing. It was everything. Office hours are Thursday 3 to 5, he said, or whenever the door happens to be open. Do your doors stay open long? I try. He said and smiled like weather moving. He stepped into the day and was taken by it. I stood in the vestibule a moment longer, inventorying the new hallway inside me. Back at the library, a supervisor stopped me. Security's reviewing footage, she said. Sprinklers made a mess. Something went missing. Her voice tried to be casual and landed on careful. If you hear anything ill, let you know, I said, and meant something else. In the stacks, I opened the journal to the last complete entry. Tomorrow I tell the chair I choose him. The missing page was a wound that refused scabbing. I pressed my thumb against the tear, as if heat could fuse paper. Jealousy arrived before it was invited, not of anyone living, of a boy's hand in 1987 sliding into a coat pocket that wasn't mine. Of a kitchen with blinds drawn and coffee going cold. Of a sentence that ended with choosing. I felt ridiculous and also perfectly legible to myself, as if the journal had taught me a language I already spoke. My phone buzzed. Good to meet you. Send that hallway. I typed, deleted, typed again. Thanks for today. I've been carrying a door for a while. I didn't send it. I put the phone face down and read October again and again until the lines felt memorized. On my way out, the supervisor called after me. Bring a sweater next time. It's freezing in here. I like the cold, I said. It made the journal warmer. Outside, the air had the bright chill of beginnings. I walked past Whitcomb with my hands deep in my pockets and tried to picture not the man he had been, but the one he was now, way his voice found the end of a sentence and trusted it to land. I imagined his office with its tired chair and its good lamp and a door that did, sometimes, stay open. At my apartment, my roommate asked, lecture any good? Better than good, I said. Name, Elliot. I tried the syllables like a key. They fit. When the apartment went quiet, I set the journal on my chest the way you hold a promise. I traced the torn edge in the dark. I wanted an ending. I wanted to be one. His office door was cracked, the kind of invitation you pretend not to notice until you step through it. I stood in the hall, rehearsing nothing, then pushed. Elliot said, looking up from papers. You found the hallway. I didn't knock. You're here. That's enough. The room smelled of old wood and black tea. Stacks of books leaned on each other like tired men. He gestured to a chair. My legs carried me there before my head caught up. I read too much, I confessed. That's the only sin academia forgives. His tone was light, but his eyes searched like he was cataloging me. I wanted him to stop and never stop. We talked about novels, about sentences that worked like keys. I said one had changed my life. He asked which. My mouth betrayed me, a journal. His pen froze. He waited. I backpedaled into vagueness old writing, found in the stacks haunting me. He didn't press. He only said, some ghosts are worth hosting. When silence came, it wasn't empty. It filled the room like breath. Do you ever regret staying? I asked every semester. His smile was small. And yet here I am, the radiator clanked. My pulse did the same. He leaned back, stretched, and for a second his hand brushed the desk near mine. Not touching, but close enough my skin heated. I left with his sleeve still in my head. That night I opened the journal again. I imagined the younger man who had once sat where I sat, listening to Eliot in 1987, touching his coat in secret. Jealousy flared, absurd and sharp. I traced the ripped page with a fingernail until it almost hurt. I messaged Eliot. Coffee. His reply was simple. Tonight. We met at a corner cafe, all yellow light and rain on glass. He ordered tea again. I drank espresso too fast. Our knees touched under the table, then parted, then touched again as if coincidence had rhythm. You're tense, he said. Am not. You are. His voice was calm, not mocking. It makes me want to calm you. The words unbuttoned something inside me. We walked after, under trees shedding orange leaves like confetti for the wrong parade. At the crosswalk he reached out, not to hold, just to guide me with a hand at my elbow. My whole body noticed. At his building he paused. You don't have to come up. Do you want me to? He didn't answer. He unlocked the door instead. Inside, lamps pooled light. His coat slid onto a chair. Mine followed. We stood there like actors waiting for a cue that wouldn't come. Then he stepped close, his breath fogging the space between us. Too fast, he asked. No, I said, too quickly. His hand found the side of my face, warm, steady. My chest shook like it wanted out. He kissed me once, brief, restrained, but it bent every hallway in me toward him. We didn't rush. We sat on his couch, knees touching, talking about books, about nothing, about the way time bends when you notice it. His hand stayed on mine. At some point the clock disappeared. When I finally left, the street felt rewritten. My lips still carried his patience. The journal pressed against my ribs like proof that history wasn't finish had. It was repeating. And I wanted to be the next line. The next morning, I couldn't stop staring at the journal's torn page. That missing ending had become a wound inside me. If Eliot had really been the one who wrote these words, if he was the man behind those sentences, then who had the other man been? And why had it ended with silence? At his seminar I sat in the back, pretending to take notes. He spoke about archives as if they were alive, about how every missing page was an act of violence. My hands tightened around the journal in my bag. Violence. That was exactly what this gap felt like. When the lecture ended, I followed him to his office. You look distracted, he said. I kept thinking about what you said about missing pages. They haunt us. His eyes held mine steady. But sometimes we need to leave them missing. Do you regret any? His pause was long enough to hurt. Of course, that was when the jealousy cut me open. I wanted to be the only regret he carried, the only door he still tried to open. Instead, I felt like a replacement part in a machine that had broken decades ago. That evening we sat in his kitchen, mugs of tea between us. I couldn't stop myself. Who was he? I asked. Elliot's hand froze around the mug. Who? The one you loved before, the one in '87. The air changed. His chair creaked as he leaned back. How do you know about that? My throat closed. I couldn't confess about the journal. Not yet. I heard things. His eyes hardened, but his voice softened, which was worse. He was someone who deserved better, someone braver. The way he said Itsamani, not a name, made me want to scream. I wanted him to admit it, to tear the veil away. Instead, he shut the door with silence. Later, when he fell asleep on the couch, I walked his apartment like a thief. In his study, I found a box of old photos, most face down. One picture showed two young men in winter coats, their faces blurred by age, but their closeness obvious. Elliot's smile was the same, just younger, untouched by caution. Jealousy roared through me. I wanted to burn that picture. Instead, I slid it under a stack of folders where it wouldn't greet him so easily. Small sabotage, my secret fingerprint. When I returned, he stirred. You okay? Yeah, I whispered, pressing my hand to his shoulder. Just couldn't sleep. He smiled faintly and pulled me closer. I lay there with his warmth against me, but all I could see was the other man's shadow between us. The next day, I accidentally spilled coffee over his lecture notes. He brushed it off with patience, but his eyes lingered on me, searching. You're restless, he said. I just want to matter. You do, but I didn't believe him, not when the journal's every line screamed that someone else had once mattered more. That night I reread the last entry. Tomorrow I tell the chair I choose him. My chest burned. I wanted to be chosen that fiercely, even if it ruined him. The bond between us had cracked. He didn't know it yet, but I did, and I couldn't stop pressing on that crack to see how wide it would split. Security emailed me at 8:12 a.m. Please check in, sprinkler incident and a missing periodical. Footage review in progress. Polite menace. I set my phone face down on the table and the journal on my lap. The torn page glared like a socket without an eye. I told myself I would return it, after one more read, after I found the ending, after Elliot gave me one. He didn't text that morning. I paced the stacks until the seminar hour. Outside Whitcomb, the air had that metallic cold that made voices sharp. Students clotted near the doors. A strobed light began to pulse. Then the alarm. Everyone out, a guard shouted. Stairwells only. Smoke? No. A burnt wire smell and panic running ahead of fact. Bodies flooded the stairs. Someone shoved. My foot slipped. I slammed my shoulder into the railing and slid down a step on my ribs. Breath tore out of me. A shoe caught my hand. Move. Someone yelled above us. Then a voice I knew, level, cutting through noise. Careful, he's hurt. Elliot's hand found my elbow, then my back, steady, insistent. Hold the rail, he said into my ear, close enough that his breath worked like oxygen. I've got you. We spilled onto the sidewalk, shaking. The building exhaled heat and embarrassment. Sirens arrived late, as sirens do. My shoulder rang like a bell. Sit, Elliot said. He put me on a low wall and knelt to eye level, which hurts my pride. I tried to smile, failed. And this, I touched the shoulder. His fingers checked for pain the way you test a door. Firm, patient. Not broken, he said. Come upstairs when they let us back. I have ice. He stood with me until the alarm died and the crowd thinned. He didn't leave when colleagues waved. He didn't ask permission to care. When the building reopened, he walked me past the guard with a nod I wanted to leave inside. In his office, he wrapped ice in a dish towel and pressed it to my shoulder. Hold, he said. Our knees touched. He didn't move away. I'm okay, I lied. I know, he said, but I like the excuse. The joke undid me. I told him about the email, about security, about the feeling of being watched by walls, not the journal. Not yet. Well, handle it, he said. You're mine to worry about, he said so simply I forgot to breathe. We didn't kiss. We sat. His hand stayed on the towel over my shoulder, warmth seeping through cold. The clock softened its tick. Outside, sirens gave up. Stay tonight, he said at last. Let me check that you can sleep. I nodded too fast. He cooked rice and eggs with the kind of care people reserve for breakable things. I leaned against the counter and watched his wrists, the way they turned the pan. We ate at the small table with our knees pressed together, our laughter low, our silences honest. When I reached for my glass, his hand brushed mine and didn't withdraw. Still too fast, he asked. Just right, I said. Later, on the couch, I leaned into him and felt the day empty out. His breath touched my hair. His hand stopped on my ribs as if to hold a page in place. I turned toward him. The kiss was unhurried, deeper than before, a promise written in careful strokes. Heat blurred the edges of the room. Clothes stayed, but borders didn't. His palm on my back told my body I had somewhere to be. I want you here, he said against my forehead. I said, and believed myself. I fell asleep with his arm over me like a sentence closing. Morning broke us open again. A white envelope crouched on his doormat, no return address. Inside, photocopied pages from the journal lines I knew by heart. And a sticky note with 3 typed words. Does he know? Elliot read in silence. The color left his face in a careful tide. Who sent this? He asked. Maybe the library, I said. My voice sounded wrong in my mouth. No, he said, softer than fear. This is private. These pages were never public. He looked at me as if through glass. Someone wants to hurt me. I reached for his hand. He let me hold it, but his fingers counted something I couldn't see. His phone buzzed, a message from the department chair, urgent. Please come by today. Below it, another email from a generic account. If you still teach him, history will repeat itself. A link he didn't click. He exhaled through his nose, steadying himself the way men do who have practiced. Okay, he said, I'll go. It's probably nothing, a crank. It is nothing, I said too quickly. The journal burned under my shirt like a hidden ember. My shoulder throbbed where I'd hit the stair. He lifted my chin. Tonight, he said. Dinner, no alarms, no ghosts. Okay. He kissed me once, brief, as if marking a page before closing the book. Then he gathered the envelope, the copies, the doubt. At the door he turned. Noah, yeah, if someone is using my past to reach me, I want let it reach you. He tried to smile. I want let it reach us. He left. The apartment cooled behind him. I stood alone, holding a past I had stolen and a future I wanted, feeling both like weapons I didn't know how to put down. I told myself the note was just a nudge, a necessary push, a door demanding to be opened. Outside, a siren rose and fell, patient, certain, like a lesson you refuse to learn. He texted at noon, chair at 1, dinner at 7. I typed yes and erased it twice before sending. The day was knife bright. The journal lay on my desk like a small animal that trusted the hand that had stolen it. At 12:30 I opened a new email on a campus computer no one watched. I attached the same photocopied pages that had arrived at his door. Subject, does he know, body. If history matters, ask why the last page is missing. I sent it to the departmental list, then to the campus paper's tip line, from a burner that would die in an hour. My heart knocked at my ribs. I told myself I was forcing daylight in. Across from the chair's office, glass showed silhouettes if you pretended not to look. At 1:30 Elliot went in. A campus alert buzzed. Whitcomb Hall, no immediate danger. Disregard rumors online. Rumors travel faster than stairs. At 5 he texted, come by, please. His please steadied me and made everything worse. I waited in the hallway, pretending to read a notice. When his door opened, his face looked desaturated. He let me in and closed the door quietly, as if loudness might break something. They showed me emails, he said. Anonymous, copies of pages I never published. His voice was low, tired. They asked if I had crossed a line with a student, a beat. They asked about you. Heat climbed my neck. What did you say? That I don't discuss my private life with committees. That my conduct is above board. He watched me as if the room were glass. Noah, where did those pages come from? I reached for a sentence that would make me innocent and found none. From the library, I said. I found a journal. A small, humorless sound escaped him. Of course you did. I was going to return it, I said, and heard how thin that was. Did you send them? The air cooled. I could have lied. Instead, the truth arrived whole, because some doors don't open halfway. Yes, he walked to the window. Shoulders rose, fell. Why, I needed you to choose, I said. Not just me, but daylight. The journal ended in a promise and then cut off. I wanted an ending. He turned, eyes wet and angry, and something else. You used my past like a crowbar. I used it like a key, I said, and hated the word. He came close enough that I could feel heat from his shirt. Do you understand what you've done? This could cost me work. It could cost you school. Then let it cost me, I said. I don't care. I care about I touched my chest and found no word big enough, not being a secret. His hand hovered near my jaw and didn't land. I was going to tell them, he whispered, on my own terms, after the semester, carefully. I have survived this place by timing the truth. Silence built. I reached for him. He flinched and then, as if punishing himself, stepped into me and kissed me once, hard, the way you press a seal on wax. Then he pulled back as if the kiss confirmed what he feared. This is a betrayal, he said. It is, I said. Give me the journal. I took it from my bag and placed it on the desk. He touched the leather like a body, opened to the torn page, stared at the white gap as if it might speak. What was on it? I asked. He closed the cover, the kind of truth that ruins rooms. We occupied the same air like strangers at a bus stop. If the chair imposes a boundary, we follow it, he said. Do you understand? No, I said. I don't understand waiting for my own life. That's because you're 22. That's because I'm alive. I moved toward the door. He didn't stop me. At 7, I went to his apartment anyway. The deadbolt he always left open was locked. I stood with my forehead to the wood, hearing only my blood. Then the stairwell door opened. He paused with a paper bag he wouldn't taste. I wasn't sure you'd come, I said. I wasn't sure I'd want you to, he said. We held 3 steps between us. Then he climbed until we were level. He set the bag down and this time touched my cheek. His thumb traced heat under my eye as if memorizing it. Stay, he said. 1 hour, no committees, no 1,987. Just stay. We moved through the apartment like people in a museum. He cooked nothing, we ate nothing. At the window we watched our reflections pretend to be braver men. On the couch he pulled me in. His hand rested at my ribs. I breathed into his palm like shelter. I hate you, I said into his shirt, meaning the opposite and also the same. I know, he said, tender. Near midnight he walked me to the door but didn't kiss me. Tomorrow, he said, not promising. In the hall an envelope lay like a trap. My name on it typed inside, a single photocopy, the missing page edges ragged. 4 words in the center, handwritten in a hand I recognized now. I chose. He ran. Behind me, Elliot opened the door on the chain. Noah, I held up the page. Did you write this? He stared at the torn edge and went pale in a new way. No, he said. He did. The hallway shrank. The air thinned. The door between us stayed chained. His eye met mine in the gap. What does it mean? I asked. It means the ending you wanted isn't the ending we had, he said, and you may have forced us toward it anyway. The chain slid shut. The stairwell light went out and took half the corridor, as if the building understood before we did. I stood there holding a history that had finally answered and had not saved me, and the only thing I could feel was the weight of my own hand. I didn't sleep. The missing page lay on my desk, heavy as metal, those 4 words carved into me. I chose. He ran. By morning, campus already hummed with whispers. Some said a professor was under review. Some said a student had crossed a line. No one said my name yet, but I could feel it circling. Elliot didn't answer texts. At noon, I went to his office. The door was open, but the chair was empty. Only a single object sat on his desk, the journal, returned waiting, like a body someone had washed and left for burial. I sat in his chair. The room smelled of tea gone cold. I opened to the torn edge, then to the last entry, and read it again. Tomorrow I tell the chair I choose him, followed by the truth that ruined everything. My reflection in the window looked older. Harder. I understood then that I hadn't been chasing love. I'd been chasing a script. I wanted to live inside a story that wasn't mine to force it into daylight. And in doing that, I had torn it open in the same place twice. When I left, I carried nothing, not the journal. Not the page, only the silence between us, a silence I had built with my own hands. That night I walked past his apartment. 1 lamp burned inside, just enough to outline a shadow moving behind curtains. I couldn't tell if he was alone. I couldn't tell if he was waiting. I stood in the cold until my breath felt like smoke, until the window went dark. I told myself I would knock, that I would explain, that I would beg. My hand lifted once, then fell back into my pocket. Some doors you open, some doors you close, and some you stand in front of forever, knowing you built the lock yourself.